It was a rainy night. The city streets were silent, the lights dim. Dr. Lena Hayes, a black doctor, was leaving the hospital exhausted and heading to her car. That night, she had saved a life. However, she had no idea the night would take on a very different meaning for her. Just a few meters from her car, two white police officers, Officer Grant and Officer Miller, suddenly stepped in front of her. Whispering something to each other, they approached Lena. "Hey, hold up a second," Officer Grant said, suspicion clear in his tone. Lena, taken aback but maintaining a polite smile, responded, "Yes, officers? Can I help you?" Grant's gaze was sharp. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in this area." "Sorry, but we need to search you." Lena's face fell. "I'm just leaving work. I'm a doctor. I'm heading to my car. I haven't done anything wrong." "Can we see your ID?" Miller asked, his hand resting on the baton at his belt. Lena reached into her bag, retrieved her ID, and handed it to them. However, the officers barely glanced at it before taking things further. "Open your bag. Empty your pockets," Grant ordered, his tone authoritative. "Do you have any reason to do this?" Lena asked, trying to mask her rising anxiety. Grant frowned. "You want a reason? I'll give you a reason." Adrenaline surged through Lena. She felt helpless, knowing nothing she said would improve the situation, but she wasn't willing to surrender quietly either. The rain intensified. Dr. Lena Hayes took a deep breath as she tried to process the officer's demands. Reaching out to take back her ID, she noticed Grant ignoring her attempt. "You're trying to search me without explaining why," she said, her voice calm, yet betraying her indignation. Grant and Miller appeared agitated by Lena's defiance. "Ask your questions later. For now, take your hands out of your pockets and turn around," Miller said with a mocking smirk. Lena's breathing quickened. She knew she didn't deserve this, but she also understood the power imbalance. Resisting wouldn't help her win. Still, she couldn't stand by silently. "Listen, I'm a doctor heading home after a long shift. I've done nothing suspicious. The way you're treating me is completely unjust." Miller stepped closer. "Do as you're told," he said, his voice laced with threat. Grant reached for his radio, his body language suggesting confidence that Lena couldn't call for help. But Lena took a steadying breath and spoke firmly. "If this continues, I'll call my husband." Grant chuckled. "Your husband? And who's this hero?" "Go ahead, call him. Maybe we'll get a good laugh." Holding her phone without letting her hands shake, Lena dialed a number. After 2 rings, a voice answered. "Lena, are you okay?" "Richard," Lena said, her voice trembling but resolute. "They've stopped me. They're violating my rights. You need to know." The tone on the other end shifted instantly, filling with seriousness and anger. "Where are you?" "Baker Street, 2 blocks from the hospital," she replied. Lena's words seemed to unsettle the officers. Grant's smug demeanor faded into unease. "Did an attorney tell you to say that? Are you trying to scare us?" he asked. Lena, lowering her phone, said coldly, 5 minutes. "He'll be here in 5 minutes." The officers assumed she was bluffing, but moments later, headlights emerged from a dark corner. A black SUV approached swiftly and stopped abruptly beside Lena. The door opened, and out stepped a tall, imposing man in formal attire. Richard Hayes, one of the city's most prominent civil rights attorneys. Richard's face radiated anger and determination. "Someone explain what's happening here, immediately," he demanded, his voice echoing. Grant and Miller's faces paled as they hesitated. "Sir, we received reports of suspicious activity and we—" Grant began, only for Richard to cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Suspicious activity? What exactly about my wife was suspicious? I want one answer." When the officers failed to respond, Richard pulled out his phone. "I'm documenting this behavior, and I will personally ensure each of you faces legal action. This will be the end of your careers." The officers took a step back as the surrounding crowd started to grow, watching the unfolding scene. Lena stood silently beside her husband, feeling both the exhaustion of defending herself and the renewed strength from his presence. Richard wasted no time. Dialing another number, he said, "Chief Davis, I need you at Baker Street immediately. My wife, Dr. Lena Hayes, has been unjustly detained and her rights violated. These officers need to be held accountable." Minutes later, the flashing lights of another patrol car illuminated the street. Chief Davis stepped out, his face showing concern as he approached. "Richard," Davis greeted with a nod. "What's going on tonight?" Richard quickly explained. "My wife was stopped without cause. These officers demanded to search her and disregarded her rights. I expect an explanation." Turning to the officers, Davis asked firmly, "Is this true? What was the basis for your suspicion?" Grant and Miller hesitated. "There were reports of suspicious individuals in the area." Miller started, but Davis's stern look silenced him. "If there was a report, why target a doctor walking to her car?" Davis asked. "It seems you had no justification." Seeing the officer's silence, Davis took a deep breath. "This is far from over. Both of you will submit reports immediately, and this incident will be thoroughly investigated." Richard turned to Lena, holding her hand gently. "It's over," he said quietly. "I'm so sorry you had to go through this." Lena smiled softly. "Tonight wasn't just about me. We made sure they think twice before targeting anyone else unfairly." The officers were temporarily suspended, and Lena and Richard went home, but the incident quickly spread throughout Greville. Lena's ordeal shed light on the silent biases that lingered in the city. A week later, the Greville Police Department issued a statement condemning the officers' actions and announcing new training programs to eliminate discriminatory practices. One day, while sitting at a cafe after work, Lena was approached by a young woman. "I heard your story," the woman said. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but thank you for standing up. It gives us hope for a fairer society." Looking into the woman's eyes, Lena smiled. Justice needs someone to speak up. If that was me, it was worth it. That day, Lena Hayes became more than just a doctor. She became a symbol of the fight for justice in Greville. Dr. Lena Hayes, a person deserving respect for her profession and character, faces unjust treatment solely due to her skin color. However, by calmly and resolutely standing up for her rights, she exposes this injustice. With the strong support of her husband Richard and his demand for systematic solutions, they spark societal change. Lena's courage inspires the people of Greville and demonstrates that a more equitable future is possible. This story powerfully illustrates how individual efforts can initiate transformative societal change. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more captivating tales, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. With every new story, we bring you more thrilling adventures. If you liked this video, share your thoughts in the comments below. And to ensure you don't miss any new stories, turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a thing.